Hello, everyone, and welcome to our episode of Lunch and Life. I'm Robin Joy Meyers, and I'm hanging on and waiting for Sharon to log in. I think we could be having a little technical difficulty. I'm texting as we go here, so bear with us. Oh, here she is. Yay. Hold on, I'm going to bring her on.
Oh, man.
So welcome to our episode of Lunch and Life.
Hello, everybody.
Woo! Hey, Sharon, feels so much better. So I'm Robin Joy Meyers, co-host Sharon Holand-Gelfand, and we are here for week 2 of January, which, as soon as you think like one week has all its excitement, the next week happens, and, the world keeps on ticking away.
So, man, it's been like one bombshell after another.
Almost literally, frankly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Last week, we were thinking about and talking with all of you about intentions and how we're going to bring our intentions instead of resolutions into 2021. And we were talking about this month of January being joy, right? So last week we talked about just being, the letter J, just being. So following suit, today is O. And O is going to be, what is the O in joy? And it's really about owning you, owning your choices, and owning everything about you. Right, Sharon?
Yeah, although with everything that's been going on, my first thought was, oh my.
Kind of like lions and tigers and bears, oh my. That's appropriate.
Right? Because it's owning you, but then there are times where really it's like, oh my.
Yeah. And sometimes you have to take that breath and that break and say, oh my, because I think it's really important that we acknowledge it. Yeah. But I also think in that part of the conversation, which I love unpacking lunch with you, by the way. I didn't even say that yet this morning.
I know.
Or this afternoon. But part of saying that is kind of like, as the news keeps growing and growing, as that keeps happening, how do we kind of sit within ourselves and be able to take those breaths and be able to bring it to ourselves? Because frankly, it can get totally overwhelming, right? And so you almost have to be able to say, so what am I doing for me and to be my best self, to bring it then to my family, my community, and to what I can control.
Absolutely. And by owning it, it's really that reminder of becoming aware, right? Because when you're not aware, then all this noise, the news, the oh my's, it just infiltrates and it fogs everything, it clogs it all up. So the awareness and owning it is, taking that step back and making the choices of the thoughts you're going to allow. Mm-hmm. To enter, and those that you're just going to realize, yes, this is a buzz that's going on, which, of course, as we always talk about, just creates more stress and, just keeps releasing more cortisol versus taking that step back and how am I going to show up for my family? This morning I took a yoga class, but it wasn't yoga. It was like a breathing. I actually have to see what it was called exactly, but it was a breathing class, and it just was I had not started my day doing something like that. We set our intentions. We have a 5-minute routine, and I would do breathing exercise, but and I'll check it when I pass the baton to you to continue the conversation. But there was something about the way that this really just brought the whole mind-body connection, allowed me to stay connected, except until I realized that I totally spaced about the show.
You are so deep in your breathing, which is good.
Exactly.
Although we were in countdown. That's really interesting, though. That's awesome.
Yeah, I really want to find what it was this morning, because Yoga Nidra. That's what it was called, Yoga Nidra. And, it's like we're always looking for ways to bring connection back to ourselves. And it was short. It was only, 20 minutes. We did it at 6:30 in the morning. And it was just good time to just breathe through all of our body parts. And I talk
Hmm.
about breathing through the body, but this was even a step deeper, because then I'm owning what I've controlled and what I forgot.
And that brings back what we've talked about, really our whole theme, right? Of kind of that body check and checking in, because when you can breathe through those and really connect to your body parts, that's where you kind of feel I know for me personally, the aches, pains, twinges, where you're getting stuck in your breathing. I find that I hold a lot of stress here, but that's part of that chakra, and that's part of your voice, and that's part of like stepping out and being really conscious of that. So it's kind of that body check as well.
Absolutely. And I think the challenge sometimes is that, so many people think, I get to a destination and that's it. It should be done.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's evolving. It's ever, lasting. It's a journey. So we sometimes then get down on ourselves, right? As you and I have spoken about many times, and beat ourselves up because we think, why aren't we there yet? How come
Right.
it's not done yet? But it'll never be done. The only, sure things in life, certainties are change and taxes and death,
Death, pretty much. Birth and
right?
death come into the play. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we never arrive. We just get to the next pause or, landing platform. And then we
Hmm.
take a breath and then we keep moving forward. So even like today, I did the yoga, I did the breathing, and then I got so caught up in what I was doing. And I needed your reminder, like, hey, hello, remember we're here. And of course, when you're doing virtual, it's like you have to own it.
Right. Right.
And it's okay. And I think that's the biggest thing. And, there's such a common thread with everything we talk about, right? Of
There
just,
really is. There really is. And I think, the reminder though of uh, all of life, it is a journey. It isn't a destination. And the more you can be self-aware and the more you can uncover, what these things and what noise sets you off and what that means and where the triggers originate from and where they go to. So it really comes into changing, listening to those triggers, understanding them, not necessarily getting stuck, just becoming more aware. And so what do you do with them? Is it a pattern that you're going to keep? It's all that neuroplasticity, right? Is it something you want to keep or something you want to change?
right.
And so it's just living really consciously, like living in that moment. And so being able to quiet that noise and being able to control what you can control.
Yeah. So for you in your life, Robin, what would you say are like the major examples or like highlights of your owning it?
Nothing like putting me on the spot, Sharon.
I can go first if you want.
Let's see, owning it. How real should we? I'll be really real, actually. Owning it. Well, I think even coming into 2021, on the professional side of my business, what is that one thing that has to happen, right? In the pandemic, what my business has shifted, like most of us, and that is how am I going to reformat and get clients, right? It's not just I want to serve more, and that has to be online. So how do I bring the programs online? As you know, I'm working on. I can't travel to Tuscany, but I can do it virtually. So the end of January, doing a virtual weekend retreat sort of idea. How do I do that personally? If you don't know it yet, you probably will find out. 2020 has brought a huge change in my personal relationships. Right, went through actually getting officially divorced, but learning to rekindling and dating my ex, which is so funny to say, um, but realizing what's really important. And my owning it has been that I have to really own who I am, and understanding that you have to love yourself. Like you have to be in love with you and your number one relationship in order to give to anyone else. And I have truly, truly learned that this year.
And I have to say, I'm actually so happy that you're sharing this because there are so many people who go through it and do it quietly and painfully and go through a range of emotions. And I think it's really beautiful to own it, to realize I need separation, I need space, I need something that's going to help me with my relationship before I can show up in a positive way in my joint relationship. I have a very good friend who separated. And I think relationships are so important, right? She was separated from her husband because something had to change. They've been married 25 years, and it wasn't happening, and they needed to separate to really, really do the work. And I think it's that owning it is so beautiful because it gives us that opportunity and that space to look at ourselves honestly. And
Yeah.
she too they got back together because they were raw. They were both owning it. They were honest about it. And I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it because, sometimes we don't. Like, I ended up getting divorced. Um, and sometimes we do, and sometimes it falls in the middle somewhere. But really, really just recognizing, owning it, and taking action, not playing victim. And I think that
Right.
compassion to it is just, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Thank you for that support. But it's true though, because there's decisions to be made, right? So life changes, I mean, we had our 30th anniversary, and it's kind of funny, like, okay, so we're divorced at 30, but are we starting at 1 or do we at like, what do you do with that? What do you do with that? This could be a great series on Netflix or something, but
You know what?
just putting it out there. But the thought is, there's life changes that goes on. 3 kids later, careers later, and but all of it is really tuning into each other and making that decision. But it still comes down to owning me and what were my needs, and then coming to the table and what was Dan's needs, and then having those conversations. And in the end game is we want the same things in life.
Yeah.
We just kind of forgot how to get there.
Oh, I got goosebumps. I think that's so beautiful because we all forget over
Yeah.
time when things get in the way and we don't consciously or aren't aware or, whatever, fill in the blank, that just disconnects us. And then the kids come along. And at the end of the day, right, owning you, knowing that you want the same things out of life, and then thinking about the kids of, okay, whether it works or it doesn't, how can we both own it and show up so that we can have the best positive, like our kids can have the best positive experience, and so that they can own what's going on too, right? It's a whole ripple effect. I mean,
It's a
wow.
whole ripple. It's a whole ripple because either way, in the end game, I mean, we had children out of love. So whichever direction it's going to take, it's not a failure because we have this beautiful family. So you've got to decide how you're going to muddle through and get through it but you have to have the conversations. And I think the beauty that the realization we came to and I came to is all bets are off. All conversations have to be raw and real and honest. And
Uh-oh. I think Robin froze. So
there I am. Am I
there
back?
you are. Okay. Yes. Real, raw, and honest.
Real, raw, honest conversation. Because can't hold anything back. It's either you're going to go together or you're not.
Yeah.
And either way's okay, as long as you handled it the way you want to handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. I was having an interesting conversation with my daughter earlier, and she's 25 years old, and we were talking about the vaccine and just talking in general about society and how people are being judged for their choices or for their thoughts, and being afraid to speak what you're feeling and thinking because of of how uncomfortable it is, right? And how we don't want to have uncomfortable conversations, or we don't want to have any confrontation. So, however we're taught that, whether it's society, our family, we want to avoid it. But by avoiding it, right, goes back to not owning it.
Right.
And it's just, I just have a little aside here, like for our audience, because, Robin and I, we talk every week, we talk every day practically. And so, we put a lot of thought into our topics and what we want to share with everyone. And we had a great conversation about what we thought we were going to share today. And yet, it's totally taken a different trajectory.
It has.
But how beautiful it is, because that's what happens sometimes, and that's us owning the conversations and unpacking lunch and life with all of you. It's
Mhm.
just that's the beauty of being authentic, and I keep repeating, own it, own it, own it.
Well, and honestly, I mean, complete authenticity, right? I mean, here we are. Can't get more raw than that. So
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's what people want now. They want to have these real conversations because it doesn't work any other way.
it doesn't work otherwise. Yeah. And that
You know?
and that just comes with, that self-awareness and that journey, and this is who I am, right? Like, even if you didn't agree with me, that's okay. You don't need to agree with me. This is just where I'm at and where my beliefs are. And
Exactly, and it's creating this space without judgment, so
Mhm.
that because yeah, we're not all the same. We all
Right,
have different thoughts, and it's okay to agree to disagree,
right.
as long as there's that safe space to be able to have the conversation, knowing that the other person isn't judging, isn't you know already trying to make you wrong for something, but is just allowing you, providing you with the space, and allowing you, and I say you, it's like everybody, right, the space to be, right, which
Mhm.
is the J of last week, the just be, right? So you can see how this is all connected.
Mhm.
Not you, Robin. I mean, our audience, right?
Oh, I'm in there too.
Right, but like this is what you do.
Yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's
it's a great it's great how it all comes together, right? And it comes together on how our brain is so connected and our gut is so connected, and our health and our thoughts create our health, and all the patterns come together, right? So until you can give yourself permission, and you have to be able to give yourself permission to take the time to just be and own, and take the time in, like you made time today to take this breathing yoga midra, whatever, which I want to know what that's about because I want to do it, which is just different. But no, it's
yeah,
great. It's just carving in the time, and no matter how busy you think your calendar is, it's making sure, like, that's just as important as a doctor's appointment or listening to us. It's just as important as coming and listening to us.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And with that, it's important to let go of what's not serving, what's not working, and just doing it one step at a time, right? It always goes back to, when you say the just one thing, it's picking something to get started. This week there was an article in the New York Times about the gut brain connection. A couple of weeks ago, there was an article in the Wall Street Journal about the gut brain connection. There's just like so much talk about that. So this just being and owning it is turning inward, and it's so connected.
Yeah,
So asking yourself those questions and going back to what Robin and I always say is, from thought to pen to paper, like move that energy and write it down.
exactly. And as we're both reading the book, The One Thing. Do you know the author offhand? Because it's a great book to
Keller.
Keller.
Um, yeah,
It's a great book to read, but it's pick one thing. So, if there's something to do this week, if you have nothing to do, pick that one thing. What is that one thing, to the audience? What is that one thing that, has been on your mind? Maybe it's a conversation. Maybe it's carving time out to go do a breathing class, or getting up and listening to a podcast. What is that one thing that you've talked about that you have not done yet to move yourself forward? And own it, and
mm,
just start. Just start today. If it's 15 minutes, if it's 5 minutes, just start it.
yeah, exactly. And yeah, and you have a week until our next show.
You do. You have a
And you
week.
can post it in the description below, and in the comments below, and share with us. We really want to engage in a conversation.
We really do. We really do. So
Ah,
I love unpacking lunch with
I
you.
know,
I
I
love when our
know.
conversations go totally off the page.
I do also. It's just such a great flow. It's not, and that's what we want. We want that. So listen, we could do it, you could do it, and certainly subscribe to our channel,
Mhm.
hit like, get the notifications, because that helps us get out there more and for people to see what we're doing and the conversations that we're sharing. So, and then share what you're thinking, what's going on in your life. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, if there's a topic that you want to touch on, you want us to start the conversation, we'd love to know. So, as Sharon said, please like, follow, share, comment. All of the above would be great because then we can serve everybody even better.
Yeah. And of
And
course,
follow us.
yes, follow us. All of our information is down below. And
Oh,
also,
look, down, I've one nail painted, one not.
oh, so, like you said, so great unpacking lunch with you, Robin. And so everybody have a great week, and we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Take care.
Take care.